Kunzang, my name is Sadon Lhamo, and today for the Bhutan Storytelling Series, I will be reading Tsongpon Dawa Zangpo from the Folktales of Bhutan. Dangpu Dingpu, which means a long, long time ago. There was a widow who lived with her 3 sons. Their father had been a prosperous merchant, but after his death, the family had fallen on hard times. So when the sons grew up, the mother wanted them to become traders, hoping that they would have at least some of their former prosperity. One day she called them together and said, "Your father was a very successful merchant, and I am sure you too can become like him. Go into the world and become merchants." To help them start off their businesses, she gave each of them something that she had saved over the years. Even in times of dire need, she had held on to these things for her sons. She gave a gold coin to her oldest son, a silver coin to her middle son, and 3 rolls of fabric to her youngest. The 3 sons decided to go in different directions and start their trades, so they bade farewell to their mother and each other and went their different ways. The youngest son, whose name was Dawa Zangpo, had not gone very far when he chanced to come across some boys tormenting a cat. They pulled and poked at it, and the cat staggered and meowed pathetically. At once he was very sorry for the cat. "Ay, Diche, poor thing, please stop tormenting this poor animal," he said to the boys. But they would not pay any heed to his pleas. Finally, he offered them a roll of woolen fabric in exchange for the life of the cat. At this, the boys agreed and let the cat go. He picked up the cat and stroked it gently, and the cat feebly licked his hand in response. In the same way, he saved a dog with the 2nd roll of fabric and a monkey with the 3rd. Now he had nothing to trade with, so he traveled around aimlessly with the 3 animals until one day he reached the shores of a great lake. There was a group of fishermen who were wildly excited because they had caught a big fish. The fish was still alive and wriggling in the sand. Full of loud enthusiasm, they were about to cut it up and divide the meat among themselves. Dawa Zangpo was overcome with compassion for the fish, so he begged them to spare its life. The fishermen were quite amused. "What will you give us if you let this fish go?" they ridiculed. All he had to offer were the clothes on his back, and he at once readily took these off and gave it to them. When they realized how serious he was, they sheepishly took the fish and released it into the water and walked away with his clothes. The fish floated for a while, then slowly steadied itself and swam away, quite unsure of itself. As soon as the fishermen were gone, there was a strange sound from the lake. As he looked on, the waters of the lake swirled and swished about, and a circle of ripples appeared in the center of the lake as a beautiful woman came out. "I have been sent to call you by the Luyi Gyalpo, the king of the subterranean world. He would like to reward you for saving his daughter." For a while, this Spartan man stood on the banks of the lake, speechless with wonder. Finally, he fed his animals and said, "All right, now I'm ready to come." He closed his eyes as he was bidden to do and held on to the sleeves of the woman as she plunged back into the water. "The king will offer you everything that you could wish for, but you must ask only for the ring on the finger of his right hand," whispered the woman as they reached the turquoise gate of the Luyi Gyalpo's palace. Strains of a plaintive and melancholic music from a lone flute greeted his ears as he walked carefully on the turquoise floors that shone in the pale, shimmering light that filtered in through the water. He soon found himself in the presence of the subterranean king. He had the upper body of a human being, but his lower body was a massive snake that slithered and swayed gently. He was the Luyi Jiwa, or the peaceful Lu. He smiled benignly under a halo of serpents. Dawa Zangpo was given milk and puffed buckwheat as a welcome offering. After 3 days in the underworld, Dawa Zangpo began to worry about his friends on earth, so he asked the Lu, the subterranean king, Please let me go back to my world. I have been away from my friends for too long and they must be hungry." The Lu at once offered him gold, silver, and all sorts of gems, but he declined all offers, saying, "If you really wish to give me something, I would like to have the ring from the finger of your right hand." The Lu gave him the ring very reluctantly, as the ring was a wish-fulfilling ring, and yet this man had saved the life of his daughter. Back on Earth, Dawa Zangpo was very happy to see all three animals were well. After having fed them, he decided to try out the ring and wished for a house on the island in the middle of an immense lake. No sooner had he made the wish than he found himself on the island in a beautiful palace surrounded by servants who waited to serve his every need. Now the king of the West, who up to now had been the most powerful and most wealthy man in the land, at once felt threatened by somebody who seemed to possess supernatural powers. He was jealous and curious to find out how a Dzong, a palace, had been built overnight on the island. He asked for a volunteer to go across the lake and find out how everything had happened. Nobody would volunteer, as the way was fraught with perils and it was said to be an endless journey of no return. Finally, a Gomchen, a lay monk, who had mastered some tantric powers, came forward. The king was of course very pleased and rewarded him generously. The Gomchen finally reached the island, but it had taken him a long time. Once on the island, he pretended to be a beggar and went to beg at the gate of Dawa Zangpo's song. The latter, who was rather surprised but pleased to see a visitor, asked him to stay on. The Gomchen stayed on and soon found out the secret of the ring. Every day for 3 years, the Gomchen trailed Dawa Zangpo, waiting for an opportunity to steal the ring, but he never took it off his finger. The Gomchen would have failed had not a stroke of good fortune come to his aid. It happened while Dawa Zangpo was having his bath, and the hot water swelled his fingers, and he took off the ring till the swelling went down. It was at this moment that the Gomchen snatched up the ring and wished to be taken across the lake to the palace of the king of the West. The wish-fulfilling ring at once granted his wish, and before he could blink his eyes, he was in the presence of the powerful king of the West. The king of the West, once again, the most powerful person, but with the magical ring now in his possession, his powers had multiplied many times. The instant the ring was taken, the palace vanished and Dawa Zangpo had nothing except the 3 animals. The cat, being the most intelligent of the 3, called the other animals together and pointed out, "Now is our chance to show our gratitude to this gentle, compassionate man. We must think of a way to get the ring back." The 3 animals sat together and after a long discussion, they agreed upon a plan. The dog, being a good swimmer, agreed to carry the other 2 and swim across the lake. Once they reached the Western Kingdom, each animal immediately proceeded to carry out his assignment. So the dog crouched behind a bush and kept watch. The monkey went into the king's maize field and began to destroy the entire crop, pulling down the stalks and breaking off the cobs. The gardener, seeing the ravage, immediately reported the incident to the king, who was a keen hunter. He summoned all his men together and went after the monkey. While the palace was thus unattended, the cat crept into the palace, lay down near the securely locked door of the Gyalpoi bangzoi, or the royal treasure trove, and pretended to be dead. The mice in the palace were greatly excited and mystified over the death of a cat they had never seen before, and they reported the matter to their king and sought counsel from him. The Mouse King immediately came to look at the strange dead cat. He peered at it. The cat stayed very still. All the mice watched and held their breaths as their brave king went closer to the cat. Seeing that all his subjects were watching him, he ventured even closer and actually began to poke and pull at it. The cat suddenly sprang up, caught the king and declared, "Your king is my prisoner. I will not release him until you bring me the new ring that the king of the West has recently acquired." The mice scurried about in the palace looking everywhere for the ring. Soon the ring was found and brought to the cat, who promptly released the Mouse King. The cat then went off with the ring to join his two friends in the forest. The monkey held the ring in his hand, and the three animals set out across the lake on their return journey. As they were about to reach the shore, a sudden wave splashed over them, and the ring was swept out of the monkey's hand into the lake. Just then a fish came swimming by and swallowed the ring. No sooner had it swallowed it than a waterfall swooped down and caught the fish. The dog had seen all this and knew exactly what to do, while his two friends bemoaned their ill luck. The dog ran after the startled bird, who dropped the fish from its beak and flew into the sky. The dog quickly recovered the ring from the fish and instantly took it to Dawa Zangpo, who was so overcome with joy and gratitude that he fainted. From then onwards, the four friends lived in peace and prosperity for the rest of their lives, and Dawa Zangpo decided never to take the ring off his finger at all. The end.